to be here today, and thank you all for joining me. Couple minutes late, I apologize. There's always little clicks and things to do behind the scenes whenever I'm getting ready to go live. But today is the day. I have had a lot of requests to take a little more in-depth look at my pop planner. So this is the new and improved version of my progress on projects we lovingly refer to as pop. I have my pop membership, I have my pop stars, and it's so good to see all of you here. And today my goal is to take a closer look at what's inside, to walk through the forms and trackers and give you kind of just a high level overview of how we can use it and kind of a little more depth about how to get started working with your pop planner and also how to put it together. I did a quick little video on just, sticking stickers on and things like that, but I'm going to go in a little more detail today. So I am just so thrilled to finally have this project done. And I want to start off by saying, I know for those of you who have been following me for quite a while, you probably have one that you started perhaps with my digital downloads from way, way, way back. I know I've had a lot of free templates on my website for you to download and also in the pop member area. And everything has kind of morphed and changed over time. So I just want to kind of start off by saying that if you have the original forms, some of those, there might be one or two that may look still a little similar, but others we have with this awesome community, with my pop stars, we have really focused down on which forms do us the best, service and keeping organized, and also how to use them. And then we've refined them and kind of just, tweaked until we got a simple system. One of the things that I realized with my first pop system was that it even for me, after a while, I kept adding forms and it started to feel overwhelming. And that's the last thing you want to do when you're trying to get organized is feel overwhelmed. Getting organized, we're supposed to feel better about where we are. So the simpler, the better. And we just kept hacking away at the system until now I really feel good about where we are with the pop system. So without further ado, let me switch over to the overhead camera. And so, well, before we do that, so this is the video, friends, my new updated pop planner. And I know so many of you have already jumped in and purchased the one-click option, which is definitely just getting into the shop and clicking the button, and then you get this whole thing mailed to you in a, excuse me, in a medium flat rate box. It's heavy. This thing is heavy. So I just, I kind of wanted to show you what you get, what's in the box. And then also we're going to dive into, okay, now that you get yours put together, how are we actually going to use this thing, right? And how does it help us stay on top of what we're working on, all of our projects? Okay. And Kathy C., welcome. It has been a minute. So good to see your name pop up. Okay. Hello, all my friends. Pam, Suzanne, Carrie, Marion, Shannon, Cindy. Carrie's here. Jennifer, Lark is here. Hello. And thank you all for saying hello. Birdie, Karen, Jean, Donna. I'm glad you're here because I may have to call on you if you can talk. All right. So Donna is one of those people who, you know, I've bounced ideas off of and said, does this work? Does this make sense? And so on. So let me start here with the bundle, and then we're going to jump into this. And one of the things I want to mention is when you get your planner, you will get my absolute favorite binder, which is kind of this nice flexible cover. It has the title paper already printed for you. You can slide it out, add your name, and then slide it back in. And then on the inside, so you know, you have to kind of take things apart. This is a brand new one, so I'm going to kind of leave it together. Just want to show you the pieces. And then you are going to get 3 sets of the pink tabs in your package. One set is for the labels that I custom made for you. And the labels are in the other pocket. And in this pocket, let me just open this up and share what's in here. This pocket, you have, let me tell you, this was a labor of love to get these top cut tabs for you. You don't even know. I mean, I could go on about the story of how these came about. But you are going to have 4 top cut tabs, and then this one has no tabs. It's a thick plastic sheet, but that's your protector that's going to go in the very front of your binder, and I'll show you where that is. So you have your top cut, really sturdy, thick, heavy duty plastic tabs, and then you have your label sheet. So this is the sheet where, if you saw my video, you just take them off, stick them on here, wrap it around, and these are in order how you label these tabs. Well, actually, I gave you an extra for completed albums. So what I did is I took my completed albums and I just put it on the very bottom of my last set of pink tabs. And this will make sense when I get into this some more. So these are for you to DIY labeling your one set of pink tabs. You're going to have your completed albums tab as an extra that you can just add to another empty tab. Okay. Then you have a couple bonuses. One is the completed album tracker on this beautiful pink shimmer paper, because, you know, you got to keep track of your progress and celebrate the wins. So you want to make sure you do that. I have not filled mine out enough. In fact, it's kind of like those to-do lists where, like, if you do something and you're like, oh gosh, I want to put that on my to-do list. Do it. Go write down all your completed albums so you can see what you have, because it's important to keep track of what you've already accomplished. And then I also have a little bonus pouch in here, which are, I call them my album map stickies. And they are, you'll see exactly what I use them for, but they are exactly the size that you need if you want to have some flexibility with where things go on your album map. And I'll get into a little more detail with those. So these two are just little bonuses that you get with your kit. And then, like I said, you've got your top cut tabs and 3 sets of pink tabs. And then the good stuff, then the guts of the whole thing, right? And that is the kind of the one pack of all the different pieces. So this is what is going to go in between all your tabs. This is, I call it like the starter pack. This is your starter pack. And then you're going to also get a 25-pack photo tracker and a 25-pack album map. And these two are available separately. And, you know, after I've kind of been working with my planner too, I think, Donna, you're right. I think the timeline and project tracker, that might also have a place to buy those separately too. But I need to talk to my printer about that. So these two are in packs of 25. You can already get these separate. And then you have kind of your starter kit, which is 50 pages. I just want to say right now, too, I did get asked, so, these are full color pages. Even the photo tracker and the album map have color on them. They are with the premium white paper. I don't skimp. I'm a touchy-feely, I love using good paper. This is excellent, beautiful paper. So if you're going to be writing and erasing and writing again, you need a good quality paper. So I did not skimp on the quality of anything in the binder. I just want you to know that. So this is all part of, your planner. So it's 100 sheets of full color, wonderful quality printed paper that you get in your planner, plus your labels, 3 packs of the side tabs and the top tabs. And I've also had some folks question, Lauren, are you going to break this up into pieces? Because I've already started my binder and so on. And at this point, it is only in the bundle, except the album map and the timeline and the photo tracker you can buy separately. I haven't really looked at this. It takes a lot to put this together, so I haven't looked at how I can break it apart other than those 2 pieces, because everything just takes time to put together. So at this point, it's the bundle, but you get a lot. And you guys, I have to also say, I can't tell you, I think I've started over, I don't even know how many times from my original pop planner. Oh, I'm looking around to see if I can get my hands on, here it is, my original pop planner. I'm going to bring it out. This was what I started with way back when I first started filming. And I had done all the format down to fit in the happy album, and it had these plastic rings, and I had everything kind of outlined on the forms in here. And I had to start all over, because for me, this was kind of too small. And then another thing was I really liked the flexibility I found out over time. Again, this has been years in the coming. I liked the flexibility of a 3-ring format. To me, it just works better. So sometimes we just have to start over. And like I was saying, too many forms. Like I had too many forms. I had a form for keywords when that was before photo search became so good. You had to tag and keyword your photos. Now, if I'm looking for a photo, all I do is type in the search bar. If I'm looking for pictures of clouds in the sky, I can type clouds in the sky, or a backpack or a bottle or, shampoo, like it can find anything. So now, as far as technology goes, that also has changed some of the trackers that I originally had. So just to, mention, sometimes I think what I'm trying to say, sometimes starting over just gives you a fresh perspective. I know it is work, but I've been hearing how some people were like, oh my gosh, now all my Post-its, I have a place to write down everything that I had on Post-its everywhere, or little, little notepads, or, I am still transferring things from the old format into the new format. So it's a process. I guess that's what I want to mention. It's a process. Give yourself the time and the space to get yourself, get that big picture organized and understand what your album making picture looks like. And if you have any questions on kind of how I've changed my perspective on album making, I have a video on my YouTube channel that's called something like how I would start over, or my latest thoughts on my favorite hobby or something like that. And take a look at that, because I go through in a little more detail how I've switched from, kind of having to scrapbook every single picture. And then I tried the library of memories for a while. And then now this has really helped me get a perspective, bigger picture perspective on what projects really matter the most to me and matter the most to my family. And that's really asking those questions. And I also agree, it's also about bringing joy into your life. The art of scrapbooking, the creativity and all of that, the joy that you get out of scrapbooking, is just part of the process. So never think that, oh my gosh, this is not going to go anywhere. The fact that it brings you joy is fabulous. So before I jump into what my pot planner looks like, I also just want to remind you that I have kind of 3 other products that were also started along with this system that help you in that organization process. And for me, the game changer was the photo folder. This has gone through iteration after iteration as well. And I started with a free download on how you can download the photo folder template, and then you cut it and make your own. And then I finally found a printer that, again, the paper is gorgeous. The printing is gorgeous. These are double-sided, already scored, already cut and trimmed down folders. So I have a special die that takes a 1/4 inch off the top. So these fit in our power sort box without having to trim the top off. So these are custom made to fit in the Creative Memories power sort boxes. And being able to organize your photos with your pot planner is absolutely key, so that you can touch, and this is mostly, I'm talking right now for printed photos. So for your backlog of printed photos, there's a whole system. You get your photos, you touch them once, you put them in a folder, you label it, even if it's just super quick, just a quick label with a date, and then you've got that organized. And I'm going to show you the form that you use if you're working with printed photos that also helps track your photos that are in your photo folder. So if you haven't tried my photo folders, I know this is a shameless self-plug, but seriously, this was like probably the one thing that helped me get my photos organized the most. In addition, I have the story cards. So if you have little stories and notes and funny things that your kids have said or things that you want to remember, the story cards are awesome, because you can write that down and then you tuck it into your photo folder. And you don't have to rely on your memory, and you don't have to rely on where did you put that post-it or that note about that thing. It is on your story card and it is in with your photos, so that you will remember when it's time to scrapbook. Okay, so there's the story card, and on the back side, just as a bonus, is the sketch. So if you have sketches that you want to use for certain pages, you can sketch those out and create some fun little sketches. And then if you're done with the sketch, just use the story card, and you can, these are photos, these are made out of beautiful 100-pound cardstock, perfect for your albums. They are acid-free, lignin-free, photo-safe, and so I use these all the time in my photo albums, along with my dot grid cards. I could not work without my dot, grid, and grid. So these are dot grid cards, because I'm always reaching for these to do my journaling on. So these are also available in packs of I think 15 are the dot grid and story cards. And then the photo folders are in packs of 25. 25 or 50? 50. 50. I'm getting all my numbers confused. It says it on the website. So just remember the add-ons if you're interested. Okay, so let's take a look at how do we get ourselves organized, because one of the biggest things I love to do is jump from project to project. So at the moment, if you are in my monthly meetup, you know that I'm currently working on my 2025 album, and we are up to date. Hopefully my monthly meetup gals are up to date. We just finished May's layouts, and so this, one more page. This is May in 2025. My pictures are scrapped. My stories are told. I've got my journaling in here. Mother's Day, this year's Mother's Day is finished, along with some of my other activities from May. And I am ready. After that, I even have my journaling finished. I have my birthday layout finished, and the next page I am ready for June. So that's one project I like to keep up on, but at the same time, I'm working on 2019. I'm working on an album for my mother-in-law, Betty. I'm working on, just whatever strikes my fancy. And this is what helps me maintain control and understand where I am in each of my projects. So let's take a closer look. When you open your binder, remember I said you have that clear page. You put that in the front so that, the rest, your front page is protected. And, it just is a nice way to keep things organized. So if you want to put notes and other pages in here, this is going to protect all of that. You can also tuck some note cards and different things in your pocket. And then after the title page, I have a little note for you for purchasing your planner. And this one is just an encouragement to you to say, this is it. This, to me, I really believe this is what is going to help you get your projects organized, keep your projects organized, and have a place. They always say a place for everything and everything in its place. And being able to have a planner that you write all your scrapbooking wishes, dreams, projects, notes, when did that happen? What was that? So forth. When we get into some of the forms, you're going to see that. So this is the planner. In the first tab, so now you can see that in my planner, I've already taken all my labels and put them on that first set of pink tabs. So the first label is tips. And behind tips, I have 3 different flowcharts for you. I'm not going to go into depth here. I did so a little bit during the pop crop. And Debbie, I know when you left, I thought, darn, I forgot to give you the pink tracker. So I've got that put aside for you. Don't worry. I knew I was missing something. Okay. So you have photo organization tips for printed photos, photo organization tips for digital photos, and also tips for memorabilia. And we talked a lot about that kind of stuff in the pop crop on how do we keep ourselves organized. And especially, there's 2 really distinct paths if you've got printed photos or if you have digital photos. But the fun thing is the trackers are going to help you with either. Okay. So then after you do tips, this is just where you keep your trackers. And so when you get your big set, your starter kit, you're going to get a stack of keeping track of, and I call them my people tracker. So it's people tracker because that's what would fit on the tab, but the form is called keeping track of. This is one of my original forms. It's changed a little bit over the years, but when you see how to use this, it's absolutely a necessity for keeping track of people. Then there's a timeline tracker, and this is both timeline and project. What I realized was that timeline and project were both really kind of the same format. So I combined them. Again, simplify, the same form, the same thing. You have tons of different ways you can use this form. And I'm going to show you a few different ways to use this that I have set up in my album. Then you have the album tracker. This is your wish list of all the albums that you would like to see on your shelves. And so these can go in the different categories. So you have album tracker, then you also have a memorabilia tracker. So if you want to keep track of, I have my memorabilia in the pods, the storage pods by year. So if there are certain pieces of memorabilia that you want to keep track of, this can help, and it goes with your projects. And then also absolutely have to have the photo tracker. I thought I could get away with not writing down what's on my, I'm digital. All my photos stay there. They're in my camera roll. The difference it makes to see what is in your camera roll by year or by project, I can't stress how much that helps you get a handle on the next thing, which is your album map, what your album's going to look like. These two forms are absolutely essential, the photo tracker and the album map. And that's why I have these available separately. That's why I have these available in packs of 25, because writing that down in the process of looking at your camera roll and going, oh yeah, I have these photos and these photos, helps you organize in your brain. Oh yeah, I have a lot of photos of those cute shoes, but do I want to scrapbook shoes? No, so you just go, okay, that's a lot of photos. Even though I have 500 photos for March, well, I have 200 photos of shoes. So I know actually I don't have 500 photos of March. So it gives you perspective on your photos, and seeing that written down for me truly, truly helps. So the photo tracker and then the album map. Love the album map, because this form is what helps you say, I can start here, I can stop, I can see which pages I haven't finished, I can see which pages I have finished. And again, if you want even more flexibility, these cute little Post-its fit. They're like the tape kind, the clear. And so you can put these down and then move it around. If you go, oops, nope, I found some more photos, this actually has to go over here. So you've got some choices with the little Post-its. Okay, so those are the forms. And then the last tab is just some notes. So if I know a lot of us all, we have different projects. We might have, notes that we have floating around. This is where you corral all those notes and keep it in one place. You can stick your Post-its here until you have a chance, or staple them on, or punch the holes and keep them all with your notes. So after your forms, then comes the workhorse. So this part of the binder, this last half right here, really is your brain on paper. Okay, this is where you take all the things that you're working on and you have a clear way of seeing them on forms visually. So you can keep track, you can check off, you can, do all the things. And one of the reasons I mentioned the video in the beginning is because I basically have decided I make 3 types of albums. This is my album journey. I make albums that I call stories, and this is what they're about people. So like I mentioned, my mother-in-law Betty, she's a story. There's a story of John and I. If you've watched me, you know I have an album of when Lauren met John, and all of our different, kind of when we met versus, dating, and then up until we got married. So that's a story, kind of heritage slash stories. I have an album of my mom. I have an album of my dad. There's some albums that I want to make of John and of me, kind of our growing up years. Those are all stories. To me, it's all about people, it's all about stories, as well as my kids. My kids are all part of people and stories. So you can see then behind the stories, and you get to put on the top tab whatever you think you want to see. I'm going to scooch in just a little bit so you can see it better. How's that? That's a little better. Here. Sorry, guys. Taking you for a little ride. Get you a little closer to see the close-up. Since my printing is, it's big, but it's not that big. So I have at the top stories, family, theme, and then behind theme is travel, because I love making travel, and travel is part of theme, but I do separate out travel. So as you can see then, behind my stories tab, and you have to put your own stickers on here, guys. So just get your label maker and stick them on. So here's my stories. It has the columns, the subject of the type of album. So this is the same tracker. It's going to change depending on which tab it's behind. These are the people albums that I want to make. Stories about people. So that then, these albums correlate to tabs. Now, here's my biggest key. At first, I got all excited and I thought, well, I'm going to make a tab for every single album that I want to make. And then I realized it was too much. Okay, so if you've already done that, it's okay, but you might need 2 binders. Okay. And so instead, what I encourage you to do is, even though my list is really long, only make tabs, and again, get your label maker out to put the labels on the tabs of the albums that you are currently working on. So I am currently working on Ellen's albums, on Adam's albums, Audrey's, Eric's, John and myself, and Betty. Okay, those are some that, I typically want to pull off the shelf and get into. Then behind family, family is chronological. And so family has a different type of list because this is chronological. So I can just go down by the year, what these different albums, what they look like. And I can see at a glance which ones I've completed and which ones are in process. And I can make notes. These need journaling. It's almost done, but it needs journaling, and so on. So it's so nice being able to write on a sheet, all the different things. So this is kind of your brain dump of all the different types of albums. So mine are in 3 different categories: people, stories, chronological, by the year, and my 3rd category is by theme. And so before I flip to theme, I just want to show you. So I'm currently working on 2003, 2008, 2019, 2020, 2021. And you'll notice, so I skip years, right? 2023, 2024, and 2025. I don't have, even though I have a lot more years that I need to go back and fill in, those are the ones that I've been pulling photos, creating pages, and working to complete those albums. So those are the only ones for my chronological that I have tabs for. And then we hit theme. So here's the theme. The different types of theme albums might be renovation, pet album, travel album, professional photos, Love You More. I have an album of all my kids' love letters that I put all into one album, and so forth. So those are all under theme. So currently what I'm working on for theme is I have pets and I have our house. And then for travel, the travel album is my Bryce and Zion that I have currently going right now. And you can see some of my forms are empty because, again, I'm still in process of putting this all together. So I'm not even there yet either. Okay, and then here's where I have my completed albums tab way back down here in the very back. And then I have the tracker. And then once I finish an album, I don't want to throw away the form, my two favorite forms, the photo tracker or my album map. So those just go behind the completed album tracker in the very back of my book. Okay, so I'm going to come back and go through some of the forms in a little more detail, but let me check in for questions before I jump in and do that. So I'm going to come back to stories again and just look for questions. So Hazel, you get all these pages in the bundle. Okay, so yeah, everything I'm showing you is all in the bundle. Yes, so Pam, there are multiple albums on the album tracker page. Yes. Okay. Yes, have a download from album in a day. Lisa, not up to date, but can see it's possible. Okay. The free download of photo folders was the first thing I used and thought, yes. Okay. Yeah, I know the photo folders, game changer. So glad you like those. Okay. Thank you, Marjorie. That's the video. How I scrapbook, my latest thoughts and ideas about one of my favorite hobbies. Thank you. Thank you for that. That is on my YouTube channel. So you can, yeah. Remember, Kathy, the old Happy Planner? I know we kind of started there. So, okay. Yeah. So any questions? Let me see. I know. Okay, I think I've got most of your questions, but if I missed it, just pop it in, put a Q there for me so I know that it's a typical question. Okay, so question Lisa has, are the clear labels that you used Avery brand? Yes, the ones for, yeah. They are, I have a laser printer, so these are, there you go, Avery 15660. But they have different ones if you have a laser printer or if you have a inkjet printer. So yeah, these were the laser formatted ones. So it might be a different number for inkjet. Okay. All right, let's take a look at how the magic happens. So as Pam saw, one of the first things I like to do in front of each of the 3 sections is have an overview of what are all the albums that I want to create for that section. What are all the albums? And this is ongoing. Like that's why I put page 1. You might have a page 2. You might have several pages. So what does that look like for you for your section? So if you do people, if you do heritage albums, what are all the different books and what do they look like for you? Once you have that, then again, you want to create tabs for your current projects. You can always add tabs as you start a project, but as I mentioned, if you have 35 different tabs, you're going to feel overwhelmed. So really focus first on putting the tabs in of your current projects where you can go and grab an album that's in process and you can work it. So I'm going to flip over and kind of show you. So each of my kids, I have different, starting and stopping points for each of them. So I just want to share. So here's an album map that I had for album when I started working on his. And I haven't done for him, I don't have a keeping track. I have an old keeping track form. I have an old keeping track form for Ellen. But for Audrey, I put her on my new keeping track form. So I kind of want to share what this looks like now and why this form is also magic. So what I realized early on when I was, trying to create forms and working with my first pot planner is that if you have one place to write everything down, it sure helps. It makes things magic. So anytime I want to go, oh, what year was Audrey in kindergarten? She was in kindergarten from August of 07 to June of 08. That was her 6th birthday. She was at Highland Oaks and her teacher was Mrs. Homan. And I have that written down forever and ever. So when Adam was saying, okay, Mom, when did I graduate this? When did I do that? Like the more detailed you can be on your keeping track of form, and this can keep going past, like I need to keep going past high school. You can then always have a record of, oh, right, she started college in this year. She graduated college in this year. She started her first job. She did this for a while. Then she did that. It's just such a lovely thing to see a person's life unfold on paper and to have some details about dates. And then you can have a column here for notes. Oh, right. In middle school, she played on the school soccer team. And then in high school, she played on the school soccer team and she was on yearbook staff and she was, in Arcadia Sistines. And then we had COVID. Oh yeah. All those things, right? All those notes. So this is just that column, just lists of things, occurrences for a certain person. There's another way you can also keep track, and Donna got me kind of thinking about this. So Donna, if you are here, maybe you can chime in if I'm kind of doing this the right, kind of one of the ways. There's a lot of different ways you can use the timeline and project tracker. But after Donna mentioned, she goes, well, I have a project and timeline tracker for every single person. I'm like, really? I've never thought of that. Like, I have the keeping track of for every person, but I also didn't think of like a timeline tracker for them. And so I started thinking about that and also thinking, okay, so for Audrey, what were the things that she did, kind of growing up? She was in Scouts, she was in softball, she was in AYSO soccer, she was in club soccer, she did art, she did basketball, she did yearbook, she was, in the Arcadia Sistines, and then she, started Loyola Marymount University. So like, I'm hoping you're thinking something like this. So I started thinking of all the different pieces of her life, and that is also here, right? In the notes, you can also put it here. But I also thought, oh yeah, this would be really great to see. Oh, she started Scouts in kindergarten of 2007. And then she completed it in 2013. And then that's when they got the bronze award. And then the troop kind of, we decided to disband after that. So she never went on to get her silver or gold. So for Ellen, I can go this, but Ellen did the next level. She did her silver. And so I could track Ellen a little differently and go, okay, she actually started in first grade, not in kindergarten with her Scouts. And so I can see at a glance the different timelines for different things for her. So Donna, I'm not sure if you're still here, but please chime in if I have that kind of the idea. So the thing about the track, this timeline and project tracker, is that you can put whatever you want in any of the columns. And I'm going to show you some other ways I use this tracker as well. But after that comment, I thought, yeah, that's kind of cool to see, what are the different things. So like in AYSO, when did she start? Even you could put on what teams she was on. So if she started in kindergarten, I could maybe go back through and go, oh, what was the team name here for kindergarten? What was the team name for first grade and second grade and so on, and just kind of have that all in a visual representation. Kind of fun. And Amy says she uses the timeline tracker for everyone. So is that kind of, Amy, how you use it as well? Like, there's just a lot of different boxes. You can put a lot of different things in those boxes. So one thing is having kind of a visual representation. This is wonderful. And they're both separate because this keeps track of your albums too. I can see how I want to group her albums together, right? And it gives me an idea of how many albums I'm going to create for her, or give me a chance to ask her, how many albums do you want to create? Okay. So the Shirley says her gel pen may smear. I know, because it's a really nice smooth paper. I typically actually, Shirley, use a pencil, and it's just a really nice, this is a 0.9. It's a thick lead with the white eraser. I typically on my forms use pencil just because I can make too many mistakes, or I might go, oh, I don't want to put that in that box and, start over. But yeah, because it's a coated paper, you would have to let the gel pen dry a little bit more on that. Okay. So behind each person, you might have several of the different trackers. Like I said, you might have a keeping track for a person. You might have a project and timeline tracker. You will have, and so these I haven't filled out for Audrey, the photo tracker, and then you will also have an album map. So like for Adams, you can see I kind of jumped the gun, and I started an album for him, and I wanted to keep track. And this is how you can have the Post-its and move things around with the little squares. So each section you'll have different forms. Okay, so it's the same for all the different people, the stories. Now let me show you how I've used the timeline tracker for Betty, because I use this in a very different way. When I was going through for Betty, I realized she did not have a whole lot of photos. So it was important for me to write down for her what photos I actually had to get her album started. And it wasn't until she married John's dad, Jerry, in 1965, then all the photos started coming, right? But before that, this is it. These are all the photos I have of Betty, but I have wonderful stories because I've been working with her to get the stories. So we have taken some time to take a look at these photos, and then how does that translate into an album for Betty? And even though I only have, a couple pictures of her mom, I have no baby pictures of Betty. The first picture I have of her is when she was 17. That's just tragic for me, but I have the stories. So her album map and her project tracker looks so different than, say, my kids would, right? They have oodles of pictures since, before they were born. So that's just another way. So I have the dates down this side, and then across I have, again, this is because I don't have very much for her, different key moments. So dates and key moments going this way. Now, another way you could use the tracker would be, I was thinking about John's dad, would be to go, okay, how about just again a big picture overview. So date, when and where were you born? When, what were your school years? So you can put in this column date ranges. When was your work career? So when did you start work? And you could even break that out if you want to go, different jobs you had during your life. When were you in the military? When did you get married? Children, family, siblings. So you can use this form, excuse me, this form in whatever way you want. That's why there's no titles. All the boxes are blank for you to use it the way that helps you the most. Okay. So let me see. Is my pencil on my Amazon favorites? You know what, Lori? It's not, but I should put it. It's a Sakura Sumo Grip. I got it at a little art store, but I'll see if I can find it on Amazon. Let me see if I can get it to focus. There, it's Sakura. That's one of my favorite. It's a Japanese brand, Sumo Grip. I love this pencil. I also love my Blackwing pencils, so I'll use my Blackwings also. Whatever works. Yeah, okay. So let me see. Same in a different format, necessarily need both. Yeah. So the timeline and the keeping track, they are similar. So it depends on how you want to take a look at the formats. Year down the side and events across the top. Yeah. So it really is open, so you can use it and be flexible. And I'm going to show you how this changes once again. And the first way I used it, which is when I look at my family album. So I will show you how to use it that way as well. And that was, again, kind of an aha moment for me when I first did the tracker, to see everything kind of at a glance. Okay. So I hope, Joanne, that the other one are the same, but kind of different formats. Yeah, I would agree. But you could also, let me go back and just mention, like when I had the two for Audrey, this one is nice, the keeping track of, because I can kind of visually get a running glance and go, okay, I want to group these events together, this part of her life together, this part of her life together. And there is a little section here for notes, but I may not get to see like her whole softball career. When did she start? Like right now, I couldn't even tell you. I have to go look this up. I need to go look, like, when did she start softball? I think it was first grade. And then when did she stop softball? And what were some of the, highlights of when she played? She got picked for the All-Star team and blah, blah, blah. So, we went to Big Bear and she played in Big Bear. Same for AYSO soccer, what was kind of her career. So it's kind of nice to see by category this way. Let me flip it around again. By category, kind of a little highlight reel. This is almost like a little highlight reel of the different things, the different activities, which you can get this way, okay? But it's just a little different. This is almost like her whole life, all the things, and these were those special activities, and then I can kind of get an overview of what that looked like. And there might be, other ways to use this as well. Like I showed you, Betty's was different. And I'm also going to show you how to use the family in a different way as well. Okay, so here's Betty's. She has her album map. And, I'm working on getting that album made for her. Now I kept in, this was the original timeline tracker that I started with. So I made this years ago and I kept it because I wanted to show you. It was like, yeah, and it still has the punches from my Happy Planner. So I just repunched it and put it in here. Okay, so now I've moved on from people to family. So this is my chronological. And chronological is kind of a tricky thing because what happens is you might be booking along and then you're like, oh, I have a child now. And then where does that child fit in? And then booking along and, oh, I have another child. And where does that child fit in? Or, oh, I went on vacation. And what year was that I went on that vacation? And where does that fit in my whole chronological lifespan of, you know, what we've done and what albums I may want to create. So this is my original timeline tracker. And I started it by going year on the edge. So this is, I started in 1990 here, which was when John and I met, right? And then that goes from, so it just has here Ellen J, and 92 Ellen J. There's some notes here. It says Green Album. And then in 93, that's when we got married. Okay, so we have our wedding album, and the little C means that it's complete. Now, across here in my last column, I did a travel column. So you see travel up here. So this was one of my very first travel albums I did for the two of us, and it was our honeymoon. And that was in London and Greece. So that's, it has a little C on there, so that's complete as well. Okay, so then we have 93, then we have 94, 95. Ooh, 95 not started. No, I think I actually did that now. This is old. So you can update this, but that's also what this album tracker is for. Yeah, see, 94 to 95, that's complete now. So, and then there was a Maui, then in 96, Cancun, Yellowstone. Those were some travels that we did. Those are all built into the album. And then in 97, you can see my first column because that's when Ellen was born. So now I have my family column, but now I've added in, oh yeah, not only do I need pictures in 1997 for my family album, but I also need pictures for Ellen and whatever album I'm going to create for her. And then that's how this tracker starts to build. And you go, oh, in 99, I not only need pictures for my family album and Ellen's album, but now I have another baby. That's when Adam was born. And so I need photos for him too, right? And then it builds from there. And it's crazy when you start to see all of these come together. So not only now do you can track your family books, you can also track your children's books, and then you can also track, like here, this is when she started school. So you can see, oh, this is school volume 1. And then for Adam, this is school volume 1. For Audrey, this is school volume 1. So by the time I got to 2003, I need photos for my family book, for Ellen, for Adam, for Audrey, and for Eric. So it gives you that big picture overview of, oh, wow, that's a lot to keep track of. So this is that, again, just writing it down so you have a visual representation, but then you're going to take this big thing and break it down into those smaller pieces behind each tab. So 2003, okay, so for my family album for 2003, this is what that looks like. And then for Eric in 2003, I go to his tab and I go, oh, so this is what 2003 looks like for Eric. And then in Ellen's tab, you know, what does that look like? And where is that represented in her big picture? Okay, so that's also yet another way to use the grid for your timeline. And you can just keep it going. And then keep track of all the, you know, the travel and different places that you've gone. So you can see it starts out, ooh, not very many boxes filled in, right? And then it goes from there. So that, I always keep this behind my family tab so that I get just that bigger overview of that. And then I also have my album tracker list of the albums that I want to create and the status. Okay, this is chronological. So what does it look like? I'm going to do this one section and then I'll come back for questions, okay? So what does it look like when you're working an album? So here is, this is 2003. Once I have my overview, now I'm going down one more level and I'm getting into the actual album and what this looks like. Okay, so I've written everything down I want to create. I've categorized them into the different, you know, is it a story? Is it a chronological? Is it a theme album? Now I'm going to take a look. Okay, so this is chronological 2003. What happens? I want to take, first of all, a look at my photos. And remember how I said you want to write down your photos, because once you can do that, 2003, write that down, you know, and then there's a little guide on the side. This has changed a little bit, but how many did you print? Let me get to actually, let me go to the newer one, because we did a change. Here we go. So let me use, this is 2019. So now my form has the columns AW, SEP, number P, IA. And that's really important because we were saying, oh, how do you keep track of if you've printed a photo? How do you keep track if you've scrapped it? How do I know how many pages it's going to be in my album? So see those little notes right up here, okay? They have, the guide is right here at the bottom of the page. So album worthy, if you're writing things down and you go, oh, you know, painting Audrey's room. Do I want to scrap that we were painting in Audrey's room? No, that's not album worthy. And that we were do landscaping demo, not for my chronological book. Maybe I'll print those for our home renovation book. But even though I have that written down because those were important things that were going on in 2019, those are not album worthy. These were New Year's Day, Valentine's Day, Adam's birthday. Those were all album worthy. Did I select, edit, and print the photos? You check off if they are selected, edited, and printed. And then how many pages do you think those will be in your album? And then are they actually in your album? Did you scrap them? So this is the newest version of the photo tracker. And so you can just see, I write the month, the date, day, and then what the photo is. And you just keep that going so that you have a written representation of your year. And then once you have this, it's so easy to make your album map. You can see how these sections that are album worthy translate into your album. Okay? And then when you finish a page on the album map, again, a visual representation. So actually, I kind of think I do like two ways of looking at things. I like a list view and I like a grid view. That's why I think I like keeping track of list view. Project project and timeline is kind of a grid view, same thing, list view, but then how does that translate into my album? And this gives you the opportunity to see your pages, and you can see right here and right here, those 2 pages are not finished because they don't have an X through them. Right here and right here, those are not finished. You can see I erase a lot and change my mind. So again, you could use Post-its if you need, or just, that's why I'm always using a pencil. Eric's birthday, John's birthday, first day of school. So once I get all that down, I know, oh gosh, now I know exactly how many pages I need to finish for my 2019 album. Now, let me just do this really quick, because the beauty in this, I think, is then, I'm going to scooch out just a smidge here, is to see that in action. So let me grab my 2019 album. Okay, and let's take a look. So here's my album map. And I have my title page. Yep, got that done. And then I have Pets, Peppy, Valentine's, my Valentine's pages. Yep. I have Adam's birthday and the Dodger game. Yep, check. Then I have Arizona, ATVs. Yep. And then I can see from going back to my list, and these are in top loading sleeves, so I can always just add in a page. But what I need to do is go back and I need some cooking and Mother's Day, because here's Mother's Day. Wait, where's cooking? I don't know where cooking came from. Mother's Day. Oh, cooking here. I have them flip-flopped. This is cooking. Here's Mother's Day. Cooking and Mother's Day. And then I have Ellen's at RISD. So actually these 2 pages are done. So I can just, cross those off. They're finished. And then what do we have? We have Trip to New York. Yep, I have that scrapbooked. I have Ellen's graduation. I have plus 2 pages because I have more graduation photos for her. So I have 2 pages to add in. Then I have Eric's driver's license and Ellen getting her car. So those are 2 pages. Then I have Eric's birthday and John's birthday. Eric's birthday, John's birthday, first day of school, and college tours. And then I'm into Audrey's homecoming pictures. So I love being able to go, yep. So if I want to go back and say, I want to work on John's birthday and Eric's birthday, those are going to go right here. I have it already planned out, and it's going to back up into, the 2 pages before these 2 that I have finished, and so on. So I can just keep going. I've got Halloween, and then I've got the Sarah Bareilles concert. I've got Audrey's birthday, Thanksgiving, and so on. So all of these I still have yet to do. Those are just blank pages in the back. So that to me is so freeing to be able to go and look at my album map and go, oh, yep. So now those 2 pages are done. Now I can start here if I want to, fill in the blanks here. Or if I just feel like making some Christmas pages, I can go pop over here and do some Christmas pages. So being able to go from this project to my 2025 project to my 2003 project and back and forth, the album map is what helps me kind of keep track visually of everything. But the photo tracker has to come first so that you have that list of all the photos, because you can't make your pages unless you have a good idea of what photos you have. And this also helps with how much you have to print and selecting your pictures for printing. All right, friends, I know that was a lot. Hopefully that gave you kind of a better idea into, each of the forms. So let me come back and answer some questions for you and see where we are. Okay. All right, so I think we were back to Ella's question. Do I use the power layout system anymore or my album map only? For me personally, I have put my power layout system away because my photo folders to me are like a little power layout. Honestly, let me see if I can grab one. When I have my I don't know, I think I've scrapped most of these. When I have my photos in my little photo folder, this is, the left page, this is the right page. You can get down to that specifics. And this represents a board in the power layout system. So for me, I really like having a little photo folder instead of a box with boards laid out. The only time I would say you may want to switch and do the power layout method is like if you are prepping to go to a crop and you want to add in paper, you want to add in stickers, you want to kind of pull things from your inventory, from your stash, and prep before you leave to go do an event. But since I'm mostly scrap at home in my room and I have all that, I love grabbing a photo folder and I stick this in a project sleeve with the things that I want to do for that page. So that's kind of my system now. But I still have my power layout boxes. Again, like I said, if I wanted to kind of prep a big album, but to me, the photo folders and the album map have taken the place of power layouts. Okay. Karen says, if you can make pages without pictures. Yeah. I download images online that might represent a story that has no pictures. Yeah, absolutely. Especially, yeah, for the story of Betty or people that you don't have photos for. I love that. Okay. Yeah. And Shannon has the friction pins. They do come in several colors. In fact, I have one right here. This is the friction pin, and they are erasable. Yes, I love that. So that would work. That's another option for if you want a pen, the look of a pen. Okay. Lisa says, I have a 0.7 pencil that always had in his pocket. Oh, yes. I love it. The 0.9, yeah, you press hard. I know. So, they come in different pencil sizes. So find what works for you. This one I love too because, it has the big eraser and you can just twist it up because I erase a lot. Okay. All right. All right. So is the timeline tracker free somewhere? I think I have the original timeline tracker on my website, and I believe it's $1 for the download for that. Okay. The flexibility, this pop system, okay, good, Donna, can work for everyone, no matter what your scrapbook style. Oh, yes. And she likes to highlight with a highlight marker when she complete something in her pop planner. I love that. Yes. See the highlighted color filling in gives you a sense of accomplishment. Yes. And in fact, there are highlighters that are also, yes, the friction highlighters, which you can also erase. I always keep those handy too. So definitely have your tools handy and your little, goodie bag of favorite things to use. Clemmy's like, I want to go play. All right. Ella says, do you only use the page map now? Okay. We talked about that. Do I put duplicate pictures in each book? Connie, that's such a loaded question. So, way back when we thought, oh yes, it's got to be, here, let me come back here, front facing for you. Way back when we thought I've got to duplicate, I have to have 6 copies of every photo because every kid needs to have the same photo. And I have long since let that go, because if it's an absolutely fantastic photo, then maybe you do want to go ahead and, get duplicates made. But what I realized, at least for my kids, is there are plenty of photos to go around, and not every child needs every photo. And that was just something I had to take to heart, because in the beginning I was like, oh, I have to make duplicates. Every kid has to have the same thing, all the same things. And in actuality, it's really hard. It's hard to, think that's the way you have to scrap. So for now, I'm really good to just use the one, what I have. And if I do need to print a couple here and there, I will, but most of the time it's just using what I have. So 1 second here. Okay. I've got to get my little girl taken care of. So quick text. All right, friends. Let's see. Same pictures in each book. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Flexible, customizable. Yes, I hope, Sue, you're getting it. I want you to use it the way it works best for you, always. The forms on how it makes sense to you. So, yeah. Oh, can you show us one of the trackers for one of your children's first year? Where did you keep track of the first smile, first laugh? I wish I had. I wish I had. So I don't have one of the firsts. I actually have their baby books. And so I did it in the baby books, on those way back on the printed pages. Honey, her leash is right here. Thank you. I think she needs to go to the bathroom. Thanks. But I think if you did the keeping track of form, so let me go back over here to the keeping track of the people tracker. I would definitely say you could use this form for that, and just do album would be the baby album, and then date, March 2nd rolled over. You could do notes here and so forth. So something like that. Or if you wanted to do it here, you could do, use this form somewhat for that. But I actually had already started and mostly completed all the kids' baby books by the time my pop planner came about. So I don't have one of those, and I don't have grandbabies yet. So good question. Okay. All right. Yes. And Valerie, I am working on Canadian orders. So, and I know, I think Pam was still waiting for me to get to that. So I need to figure out the best shipping to get it up north to you folks. So I'm working on it. Okay. Okay, good, Ella. So maybe if you do go to crops a lot, you still would do your power layout. Yeah. Okay. Lisa, can you or Donna put your minds together and configure a way to keep track of photos, events that I want to scrap for 3 different albums? For example, Easter and chronological book, and one in each of 2 kids. Ah, yeah. Okay. So, I think the biggest challenge probably there would just be, okay, let me talk about this for a second. One of the things that truly also has streamlined my process is being able to print at home. And I know that might give you creepy crawlies, like what? But truly being able to print at home helps with, I think, Lisa, with your question, because what happens is, say I'm working on Heinz Family 2019 and I get to Easter and I want to print the Easter photos, or when my kids were little, that would be 2003. So let me go to 2003. Okay. So if I'm looking at my book here, oh, I'm already in July. I know I have. Okay, it must be here. I haven't done that yet. I haven't written it down, but I know in 2000. Oh wait, here we are. Coloring eggs, Easter, Easter egg hunt, Easter dinner. So I had 4 different pages in 2003 that were devoted to Easter. So I already know when I'm working on these, if I need to print photos or if I have those photos printed, those are going to go on those pages. In fact, I think those are in the album and scrapped. Then I have, 2 kids, and well, actually by 3, I had 4 kids. So what does their album look like? That to me would look very differently compared to they're keeping track of and what their story looks like. One of the things, my big moment is, and also I have to say, peekaboo pockets can really be your friend in this scenario too, because my kids, I know I've had conversations with them. They do not want 25 albums of their entire life story. So I've had to, take a step back from when I first was thinking how I was going to create albums and albums and albums for them to what they really want. Okay. And I really encourage you to have those conversations with the people that you're creating albums for. And so I know for my kids, 2-3 pictures of Easter is all they need. 2 or 3 pictures, maybe one side of a double page layout of them getting the Easter eggs and coloring eggs and all that. That's probably, or 1 2-page layout is what they would have in their growing up book, versus you saw my family had 4 double page layouts because they were so darn cute. So perspective and kind of understanding each child and what they want will also help you when it comes to creating their album map. And so I know for 2003, for who am I under? Audrey, she may only get 1 2-page spread for Easter. And then all I have to do is print those photos. Or if I have printed photos, just grab enough to represent that in her album. I hope that gives a little bit of perspective. But again, also the whole, being able to print what you need when you need it, to me, I'll just say once again, that's a huge benefit for keeping up with your albums. Okay. Jean's can't wait to use it. And Lark says she is single and trying to scrap her life. I love it. Break out and do different albums other than years in travel. I'm wondering if I duplicate photos for a pet album, etc. Yeah, and Lark, here's the other thing. In today's day and age especially, we don't we take a lot of pictures of our pets? So I was thinking about that. So let me give you an example here, right? So I take a lot of pictures of my pets. So I have, some really cute photos, which I want them to be in my family album because they're adorable. But in actuality, I have way more pictures than this in my camera roll. So if I'm doing my pets album, maybe I'll duplicate 1 or 2 of those photos, but I have so many others to choose from as well. Or if I do duplicate that, maybe that's okay because I'm telling a different story in my pet album than I am in my chronological album, where they are part of the Valentine's celebration. In my pet album, I'm telling a different story about, um, what kind of pet they were and, how they interacted with us in our life. So let me grab my pet album. And maybe that will help visualize that. So in my pets album, so here's Marshmallow. And so, maybe I have just, some of these are also in my family album, but I also like being able to see collections of photos together. So these are collections of Marshmallow in different time periods that I get to see all of those in one place versus hunting for pictures of her in my chronological album. And I think that there's a real value to that. And yes, do you duplicate? Maybe. But do we also have lots and lots of photos of our activities? Yeah, because that's kind of how we take digital pictures now, right? So this is a section for Marshmallow, and then Marshy, she passed. Phoebe, we lost Phoebe also, but here's some beautiful pictures of her. This was the day we brought her home. Ellen actually picked her out. So just different things. Here's Pepe. Here's Pepper. So do I have pictures of him in my family albums? Yes. Do I have more pictures in the pet album? Oh yeah, I sure do. So, you scrap the way that brings joy into your life, and you tell the stories the way you want those stories told. And that might be different. So this is Ruffles, and all his different personality pictures. And to me, I think it's just fun to see the pets all in one place. And I love being able to pull an album and go, oh, look at all these sweet babies that we've had over the years. This one's Bonnie Bell. This was Bonnie was my mom's dog, and then after my mom passed, we took on Bonnie, and she was just adorable. So, just wonderful being able to celebrate those little guys. So think about the albums that will bring you joy, and it could be, so this is a perfect example of a theme album. It's not chronological, it's theme. It's based on a theme. It's based on my pets. The same would be for our renovation albums. It's a theme. Or travel. It's a theme. It's from a start to a finish, this vacation that we took. Very different feel than a chronological album. So hopefully that'll help you wrap your head around it. Okay. Yeah. So theme is a way to kind of step outside of chronology, in my opinion. All right. Karen says, I'll hatch. Yes, loving your system. Okay, good. Yes, and you can always catch the replay if you missed part of this. Definitely, that's one reason I wanted to do this today and just take some time and dig into all the different components and, how we stay organized and how we use this. And it's a work in progress. So just like it's not, perfection on projects. No, that was not the word I wanted to use. It's progress on projects. That's our goal. And as we complete, we take those wins and celebrate them. And, but the goal is just to keep making progress. Okay. Yeah. And document things. I would too. I would document so many different things differently. Yeah. And Marcy, boxes and boxes of photos from before the digital days. And once again, photo folders, I can't stress how that just changed everything. having photo folders. Okay. Still use power layouts for yearly album, pop for others. Good. Digital, I understand, but this issue is already for printed photos. Yeah. Okay. So for printed photos, yeah. So then, Lisa, what I would do once again, then for printed photos, separate them out. Take that stack, okay, and make your stash from your big. One second here. Let me see if I can help make this from your big box. Hold on. From your big box of photos. So this is family. What I would do is from the year you're working on, right? You figure out what photos that are printed. So we're talking printed photos. What photos are going to go in your family album? Put them in a folder. Put them in your family box. Then what photos are going to go into your child's album, and get your little mini box for your child and say, okay, so these photos are going to go in these photo folders, and these photos are going to go into my family book, and then these photos are going to go into child 1, and then these photos are going to go into child 2. Okay. So for printed photos, I know you don't have the luxury, unless you scan, of printing whatever ones you want, but the photo folders is how I do that. And you make the decisions when you're going through your your photos, which photos are going to go in your family box, which photos are going to go in your kids' boxes. Okay, so I have boxes for my family. I have boxes for Ellen, Adam, Audrey, and Eric. So they're all listed over, all on my shelf. In fact, let me see if I can show you what that looks like. I'm going to just pop this on the screen right now. Okay. So you can see this is my my Calyx unit. You can see this is Ellen's box, Adam's box, Audrey's box, Eric's box, and then my family I just took back. It sits right here on top of people. Okay. And then I have a cubby with their albums that I have started. And then their photo box. And then under it, I have 2 pods for each child for their memorabilia. So that's all their schoolwork and all that good stuff. Okay. Does that help? Hopefully that helps with the organization. Okay. Carrie, Marcy, oh, Annette, you're such my cheerleader. Thank you. I'm so glad you're loving it. I'm so glad you're loving the pot planner. Okay. And Jean says her children are minimalist and they don't want anything we collect. Is now a mom and her albums are all here. Yeah. So it's really good to have those conversations, I think, with your kids about what they want. And, that's a whole other conversation we could have about, what we create. Okay. And Marcy says she's doing well just to get a family album made. I agree sometimes on that. Okay. And actually, that's one reason I've kind of been focusing more on finishing my family albums personally. And then as the years go by, it helps give me more perspective on my kids and what they want. And they've gone from, they're going to have an album for every single year of their life to, nope, I think I'm going to do an All About Audrey album where it's just highlights of, different things, to, having those conversations and so on. I mean, they have albums made already, but moving, I never really got past, I think, elementary school with any of them. So I still have middle school and high school and college to do for all the kids. But the time lapse has really helped in giving me perspective. So I look at it as a good thing that way. Okay. All right. So, any other, Annette, hopefully this hasn't been asked and answered, but do I cut my photos down to 3x3 or do you print it out after cropping? So if I know I'm using a 3x3, Annette, I save that ink, my friend. I save it and I print 3x3 only, the color for that. So, I can usually get 2 3x3s on a 4x6 and I print 2 of them. Or it's actually 2.93 or 97, something like that, that actually, that allows, but you can do, there's apps where you can just do a 3x3 and a 3x3 next to each other and then just trim that down. So you can get 2 out of one 4x6 print. Yeah. But save that ink. Save that ink. If you know you're going to use a smaller photo, print it smaller. Okay. Yes. Marcy says she's getting better about skipping some in the box. Good. All right. Yeah. Daughter-in-law, True Minimalist, is due in October. Will be interesting to see if her, yeah. And things do change over time. That's such a good point. Kids can rubber band, they can go, no, I don't want anything. And then, they have a family and they go, oh, wait, Mom, do you have pictures of me when I was little? Because, now I want to see what I looked like when I was that age. Right. So definitely, things change and your album making may have to change to keep up with all the changes that they are doing as well. So absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? Use your photo folders. Good. So Deborah, this is my brainchild. My pot planner has been, kind of years in the making and something that I put together. So you can get this in my Scrap Some Joy shop. It's ready to ship. So you can just go in there and grab it if you would like to use the system. Okay. I need a box for each project. Yes, Lisa, I get it. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Pictures. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see. Love seeing your items on the shelf. Oh, good. Good. Yes. Hello, Lisa. Let's see. Don't get just the binder, a whole planner. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I think I know this has really gotten you guys chit-chatting. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sheila, I'm right there. Like, definitely. And you can always add photos to your or albums to your list of what you want to create for your kids. But, for me, I kind of love seeing the gaps that I have in my family albums. And I feel like if I can get my family albums, my chronological albums wrapped up and kind of fill in the missing years that I have, that also gives me a framework that I can go back and look at my kids. And I know some people are like, oh, but I want to do my kids first so I don't forget anything. And I understand that too. And I've thought about that. And that's what I love the little story cards for, if, you want to keep track of that. But the other tip I had, I wanted to just mention for memorabilia, because I know this was a big aha for some folks in my pop group, is when I was thinking about my kids and what I want to give them in their school books, we had a good conversation about memorabilia. And the thing I like to say is too much special makes things not special. So if you put too much memorabilia in your kids' school albums, it doesn't tend to feel special anymore, because it's like, oh, it's this project and that picture and that little doodle and this and that, and everything. And so I finally had the aha that, as I go through, let me grab one more thing so you can see. And you guys, if you remember, I had a flood. And so this is still a hot mess, because I had to take all my kids' stuff that was beautifully organized and hang it all up to dry, because my basement flooded. So this is, here you go, real life. This is Eric's school memorabilia. This is one of his bins. My goal is to get through this and pick out the absolute most special things out of the memorabilia and add that to his school album. Then if there's something that's like, oh, that is also really special, but it is not album worthy, it's going to go in this, the 12 by 12 school days file mate. This is the 12 by 12 file mate. There's 12 pockets for each of the years, and then anything else that is not going in the album that I want him to have the opportunity to yay or nay, to say, yes, I want to keep that, or no, I don't want to keep it, is going to go in here. So it's a great alternative than scrapping all of that memorabilia. And then make sure, the third thing is, if it's not album worthy and it's not keepsake worthy, throw it out. They do not want every single spelling test that they ever took. I kept them all. And I finally had to say, Lauren, you can keep one or two from the year and toss them. Now, if you don't want to do that, put one or two in the album and then put all the rest in here, and then they'll probably toss it. I don't know. But the idea is, keep what's special. Keep it a highlight reel for your kids. I know memorabilia is a big topic. We could talk a lot about memorabilia, right? But this was another aha for me, is that this can be the keepsake container especially for school years for my kids, so that it doesn't all have to feel like it's either trash or an album. There's also, you can keep things here. And then they can get their memorabilia and their school albums. Hopefully they'll want those, and then they can decide what they want to do with this. Okay, so just a little aside. Okay, and Shannon, you are going to start. Yes. You are going to do it. Okay. Much better about not doing all the years. Yeah, please. I mean, hopefully I can rub that off on you. And I, again, encourage you, have those conversations. If your kids you feel like they're not old enough to make that decision, then just kind of keep planning that out for them, and, kind of think about what they might want. But if they already have opinions about, Mom, that scrapbook stuff is your thing, I don't want any of that, think then about maybe highlight reels of their lives, instead of, page after page after page of different events. Okay. And Karen says she takes pictures of her kids' memorabilia. Another great way to digitize that memorabilia. Only keep the most important things that you want the physical copy of for your album. I know. So definitely, I have these. That is on my list. Just to find the time. Well, I need the 8th day. Somebody tell me where to get my 8th day in the week. and then hopefully I can get to everything. Okay. Jessica said she placed an order. My address cut off. I sent an email. Okay, sure. I will look at that, Jessica, for sure. Usually my shipping program won't let me ship unless it's a completed full address. Okay. So, friends, I'm going to wrap up so you can start thinking about your album projects. If you have more questions, please leave it in the comments. It is easiest for me to see the comments on YouTube, but if you leave them on Facebook, I will also try to answer those comments as well. You again can have wonderful support and a wonderful community in my POP membership. We talk a lot more about this, and that's kind of been the place where we gather and we scrap every single month for 4 hours a day. And that is this Saturday from noon Pacific to 4 p.m. And the replays are all available in the POP member area as well. So if you haven't taken a minute to check out my POP membership, please do. That's also on the website, on my website as well. And for those of you who are pop stars, I will see you Saturday. Whoops. Sorry about that. I will get back to her. And for all of you, once again, thank you for hopping on, joining in, and hopefully this gave you a little more clarity. And have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. And I will see you all on Saturday at the Pop Crop. Take care, everyone. Bye for now. Thanks for being here.